And these 5 women, without them, we don't have a story, Rishikesh. The story doesn't proceed. Each of them become triggers, either their choices or their actions or their words. And yet the story is named after Lord Ram. So that's my lens. My lens is looking at the story, and we don't have a single story. We have more than 3,000 versions in this country. So we're looking at women in the story who are not just triggers, they become also the storytellers and the keepers of this, what we call Adi Kavya.
But this time featuring artists from around the world, from all different genres. I have a really, really talented rapper from the West Coast who's renowned in the Bay Area. I have, everyone from Chris Bodie to Marcus Miller to Angelique Kidjo, a few really different surprise guests, Veronica, and they've all brought different things to the songs. And I think it's just music, and that's why I'm calling it In Color. It's kind of breaking the barriers of the black and white keys, so to speak.
Well, if you follow my show regularly, a few months ago, we had a resplendent conversation with Dr. Anita Ratnam. Is back for entirely different reasons this time around. For those of you living under a rock, she's a contemporary dance, choreography, arts, cultural activism, and art entrepreneurial legend in this country. A unique style that blends classical and contemporary dance forms, and her contributions to the dance scene in India have been recognized both nationally and internationally. And of course, she founded the Arangam Trust. Hi, ma'am. Wonderful to talk to you. How are you doing this morning?
Just fine, Rishikesh. We are in the middle of a monsoon because this is our monsoon season. So it's raining. It's lovely.
She's at the Experimental Theatre. This is the Contemporary Dance Season, Day 3. It's a 5 p.m. performance, and as we speak, the box office is open. Tickets are live at Book My Show. Please go get them. It's a wonderful space. You really enjoy the dance as well as the space. Or if you're near the nCPA, please go to the box office and directly pick up tickets. A Million Sitas, contemporary dance performance by your troupe and you. Sita ji has been revered as a paragon of virtue, of patience, of resilience. I imagine you want to explore those various identities in the Ramayana and otherwise.
Absolutely, Rishikesh. I remember many, many years ago, I have to go back to the year 1989, 1990. I was stepping out of a marriage with 2 very young children. Yes. And I was thinking about that analogy, Sita, single mother, 2 children, and stepping out of the Lakshman Rekha. So at some point, I think all Indian women confront or have to acknowledge or meet or have the story and sort of the whole trope of Sita pass through them in their lives. In South India, there is a big ceremony with a song every Diwali where mothers bathe their girl children with haldi and sesame oil and turmeric, and they sing a song, Sita Kalyana Vaibhogame Rama Kalyana Vaibhogame. Now, the mothers are wanting their daughters to grow up to be that perfection, that paragon of perfection, so that they will get an ideal husband like Ram. But the irony is that Sita didn't have an easy life. And she represents much more than just the words you used: resilience, chastity, purity, perfection, loyalty. Because if we just pause for a moment and think, the 2 phrases that keep re-emerging even in contemporary times from this story, the Ramayana, is Lakshman Rekha and Agni Pariksha. We still use them, and especially politicians use them. This is the Agni Pariksha for so-and-so, and like the litmus test. And they both phrases, Lakshman Rekha, Agni Pariksha, belong to Sita. She crossed that Lakshman Rekha. So it is almost as if it is a line of control that many women are choosing to cross if they need to fork out whatever their dreams are. And the Agni Pariksha is a test of fire, whatever the challenges are. And this story, which is an itihasa, It's not some fantasy and fairy tale, which is what I believe, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Millions believe that Ram and Sita were there. Even before Sita became, as you said, Sita Ji, Devi Sita, Goddess Sita. If we go to the original Ramayana, Rishikesh, Valmiki wrote the story about a prince and a princess. Two teenage people caught in circumstances and forced to make some very challenging decisions and choices. Wrong, right, whatever. But just think about it. They were just teenagers when they met and married. And even now, as we speak, the most expensive film ever to be made is again the Ramayana, isn't it? So it keeps coming back in our ancient memory, cultural imagination, popular imagination. And I'm very excited to explore the story from the lens of 5 women. Sita, Mandodari, Ravana's wife; Manthara, the loyal maid of Queen Kaikeyi; Ahalya, born out of womb, she's Ayonija, created by Brahma's imagination. And then we have Surpanakha, Ravan's sister. And these 5 women, without them, we don't have a story, Rishikesh. The story doesn't proceed. Each of them become triggers, either their choices or their actions or their words. And yet the story is named after Lord Ram. So that's my lens. My lens is looking at the story. And we don't have a single story. We have more than 3,000 versions in this country. In Kerala, there is a version which Sita is imagined like a leaf in nature. So you could have your Ramayana, I could have mine. And in between, there are thousands.
You've just completely given it a different perspective. I loved how you explained that actually, if you look at it, they were just 2 young adults, 2 teens, 17-year-olds, and, suddenly pushed into this entire situation. And that suddenly puts a different perspective, gives me a different perspective. Likewise, Surpanakha is much defiled for her acts in the traditional Ramayana. I wonder again if through your signature movement style, through costume, through sound, you explore other perspectives than, the traditional ones for the other characters too, Mandodari and Manthara and Surpanakha and Ahalya.
Absolutely. For me, Surpanakha represents one of the original feminist voices of a woman who looked at a man whose heart skipped a beat and said, you know what, I really think you're fabulous. Okay? Because here she is surrounded by 3 brothers. One, this super powerful, egoistic Ravana, this emperor. And then we have a brother, Vibhishana, who's constantly criticizing her and constantly criticizing everything. And then we have Kumbhakarna, who's forever eating and sleeping. So who are the men that she knows? She herself has been widowed by her own brother Ravana because her husband was considered to be becoming too ambitious. And she's given this area of the Dandaka forest to just be. Now you're the queen. We forget that she's a princess. First of all, we forget that she's a princess. And she comes from a certain sense of entitlement, royalty, privilege. Now, there are many in the Tamil Ramayana, which is written by poet Kambar, as opposed to Valmiki and many other versions, even the Odia Ramayana. What happens is she is described as tall, light-eyed, light-skinned, and very arresting with a commanding presence. But the general impression of Surpanakha is this dark-skinned, ugly, everything negative about her. Everything negative. And do you know, Rishikesh, her given name at birth was Meenakshi, the one with beautiful eyes.
Wow.
Surpanakha means the one with sharp nails. And it comes as somebody who has a sharp tongue, whose words can bite. So it's not just the nails. We're looking at something as a woman, self-confident with an opinion and unafraid to speak. My entire work in A Million Sitas is to give each of these characters, especially Surpanakha, Manthara, and Ahalya, a dignity. They are not black and white. They're not all evil. They're not all good. And Surpanakha is a woman with great confidence, I was thinking when I was creating Surpanakha, the image I had in my mind was American pop singer Tina Turner with her
God
12-inch
bless her soul.
stiletto.
Yes, yes. She
12-inch
was known as
stilettos.
she was known as Grandma Sexy Legs.
Yeah. Okay. The 12-inch stilettos and, with a whip in her hand and a woman boss lady. Yeah. And I try to bring dimensions to these characters. After all, if Manthara had not done what she did and sort of sowed the seed of doubt in Queen Kaikeyi's mind, Rama wouldn't have gone into exile. We wouldn't have a story. So we have these women as triggers. If Surpanakha had not approached Rama in a very frank and forthright way, and Lakshmana had not done that cruel, amputation of her face, she wouldn't have gone and triggered Ravana to go and kidnap Sita. These events wouldn't have happened. So we're looking at women in the story who are not just triggers, they become also the storytellers and the keepers of this, what we call Adi Kavya. Every woman I have given, I want you to rethink Manthara, Hrishikesh, as today's astute politician. Somebody who knows how to get votes, how to create a party, how to manipulate the mood of people. And somebody like Ahalya, born to be perfect and then unloved by Rishi Gautama. And think of her as a trophy wife in today's corporate world, okay? Absolutely flawless and beautiful on the arm of somebody. But that somebody, that man, partner, is so busy chasing wealth, chasing the bottom line, chasing whatever lifestyle. And you have a neglected, gorgeous, beautiful, intelligent woman longing for only companionship.
Incredible. Now, this presentation will be preceded by an introduction by Radha Kumar, Associate Professor, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology at my alma mater at St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. So that's something for you people to look forward to. I'm going to now jump a day. The very next day, on the 24th, at the Little Theatre, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., Dr. Anita Ratnam delivers an arts management lecture demonstration. This is Navigating the Digital Arts, 33 Years of Narthaki. Now, for people who didn't hear the last interview, I think it's important. Just talk to us about the dance portal narthaki.com, and many congratulations. 33 years is no small achievement. How wonderful.
Thank you so much, Hrishikesh. What started as a phone directory just to connect dancers in 1993 January, actually. So we're going to hit that 33 years. And then it had 2 phone books. Today, nobody gives out phone numbers. We're just giving out our social media handles. And we are maybe giving our cell phone numbers, but nobody's giving out addresses because nobody wants to be doxxed, right? So Narthaki's come a full circle from a phone directory to an online portal, and what was completely digital as a magazine and an open forum for all dancers across the globe to connect is now presenting offline, work and encouraging other young artists. So Narthaki.com is, as we speak, the world's largest presence in the digital space for Indian dance. And it covers the diaspora, it covers all styles of dance, classical, contemporary, folk theatre, ritual theatre. And it's been a privilege for me to have the opportunity to be the person who sort of had the idea, birthed it. I always consider Narthaki as my third child, as my second daughter, my third child. And she's walking, she's an adult, but in this very different digital world that we inhabit, a world that even you and I are connecting with. I find that we have to be on our toes, much more than my generation who's always working to sort of keep up or catch up. The digital, the social media presence of Narthaki, the portal of Narthaki, the brand of Narthaki has to constantly be reimagined by my team. But yes, the staying power for me is very important because today it's easy to start something. It's not easy to sustain something. So it has been sustained without outside sponsorships, completely on my own, which is something that I decided I want to do, Rishikesh, for the dance community, because dance has given me so much. And I'm not a guru. I don't teach. I don't do arangetrams. I only create professional work by contracting with dancers and creating the work. And they stay with me for 2-3 years, and I go on to the next project. So this was my thank you gift back to the dance world. So narthaki.com, if you're watching, you can connect with us on the digital platforms or send us a message or just stay in touch, any of you who just are interested in dance. And I always say I'm grateful for the privilege and the opportunity to be the founder. And but another question, I don't know how long it will last beyond me, because passion is something that is not just needed in its own space. It's needed. Passion with a plan is important. And as much as I would love to see a very young team take over, I don't see somebody with that kind of staying power, that stiram yet.
Yet is the key word.
Yet.
I want to tell everybody who's watching or listening, it's a 90-minute talk. It's absolutely free of cost. There's no charge at all. Neither the nCPA nor Dr. Ratnam are charging anything for this. It's a treat for you guys. But you must register, because the little theatre is a confined space. We don't want it to be overcrowded. There are fire norms and things like that. So please go to Book My Show and register so that you're able to attend this particular lecture. My last question has got to be about the nCPA. I mean, any notable memory of performances at the Jamshid Baba or the Tata Theatre or the Godrej Dance or the Little Theatre that you could share with us, please?
It's always been the nCPA experimental. It started in 1993, I think, when I was there, and then it's just continually being in that space because my work fits in that space. It's created for smaller audiences, up to about 300, 400, and I've had wonderful memories. I remember the space when there was no stage constructed. It was flat, and it was just that black dance floor and everything else. The seats were the same, but it was flat and it was at ground level. So I remember it from those days. And I remember so many great gurus who have come and attended and watched and commented. I think it's a beautiful space. As somebody who's trained in dance and theatre, it's a challenging space to reimagine. I remember one show I did on Tagore's poetry. And, the scene in Calcutta when we land, we have these clothes hanging from balconies drying. So we actually we had clothes hanging. And I used the stairs, I used it up sort of the walkway of the balcony. And
that's a unique walkway, correct? Yeah.
It's a unique walkway. So I looked at chances of how to use the space. And our set, I hope, which is made in South Africa by an amazing artist from Nelson Mandela's favorite fabric called shwe shwe, would hang beautifully from those high ceilings. I'm very excited about returning to the space. It's also, forces the performer not to be full frontal, because you have somebody sitting on the right side, left side, balcony here. So it's important to acknowledge, everybody. Being a storytelling performance with devised movement, and it's so visual with props from Japan and Malaysia and South Africa and Thailand and Cambodia and now Java. I think it's going to be visually also a very interesting work. So nCPA, my go-to space, my first choice. And in South Bombay, it continues to be such an amazing gift to all Rasikas. I'm very excited about returning.
Dr. Anita Ratnam, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very, very much. And all the best, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, it's this week at the nCPA, and historic stuff happening at the nCPA International Jazz Festival 2025. Day one has singer-songwriter, piano phenomenon Peter Cincotti, who is making his India debut, and we're very, very excited to have him here in India. Peter joins us because of the time difference. I imagine, is it late in the night, Peter?
It's 10 p.m. now, yes. Yes.
How about over there?
What time is it over there?
It is 8:29 in the morning, 29 a.m.
Wow. On the other side of the globe.
Yeah.
I'm glad we found a time that aligns. Good to meet you.
Well, I spoke to Brian Bromberg, who's making a second India trip, and he was talking about how excited he is. This is your first ever trip to perform. What are your
Yeah.
feelings? Have you ever been here on holiday, or is it going to
No,
be your first ever trip?
it's my very first on all fronts. So I've never been to India at all, and I've always wanted to go and visit, but this is a great excuse. I look forward to playing for you all and visiting. I wish we had a little more time, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
Peter, what's going to be on the set list? Are you going to be playing lots of stuff off your upcoming album? I believe 2026 brings In Color, which is all your new material. It's original stuff, your upcoming album. Talk us through the set list, please.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'll do a few songs, give you guys like a sneak peek of a couple songs from the new album, but I'll also play songs since it's my first time there. I'll play songs from all my albums going back to my first album when I was 18. There's a few songs on there we'll play, one of which is probably going to be Sway. That ended up being my first single. It's a very different version of the classic song, and everything from that to maybe a Billy Joel cover to a few different kinds of arrangements of known older songs. And then I'll take you through my original stuff too, and kind of how that developed, and my own songwriting, which has kind of been a through line through all my records. So it'll be a mix.
Well, I believe you took to the piano very, very early on. You're almost like a child prodigy. So it's a lifetime spent in the music business.
Yeah.
But I want to know whether you had a regular life otherwise. Did you go to school, hang out in the cafe with your mates, or was it just music and music and music from an early age?
I think I had a bit of a blend. I actively avoided going to like a performing arts school or a solely music school. I remember that decision because I was born and raised in New York City, and I was already committed to music, and I was already studying with a lot of musicians in Manhattan that would call me up on stage and be so generous with their time. That was a huge part of my education, life in New York. If I lived in another city, I wouldn't have had that same education. So given that, when it came to schools, I didn't necessarily want to double down on that because I already knew I was committed to music. So I consciously went to, I guess, normal schools and wanted to learn about other things. And that went through college, where I was deciding whether to go to Manhattan School of Music or Columbia University, but I chose Columbia for the reasons I kind of mentioned, just to learn about other things, because I think all that really seeps into music as much as music education does.
That's lovely. And then at 18, you become the youngest artist ever to reach the #1 on the Billboard Jazz charts. Those must have been heady days. 18-year-old getting worldwide success.
Yeah, that's true. They were heavy days. It's always different in retrospect than when you're living through those things. And at 18 years old, I mean, what do you know at 18 years old? So, I was just playing music, and I kind of took it in stride, I think, looking back. But it had a bit of a surreal sort of a thing, seeing your name on the charts and learning about the business of music. All I cared about was just getting better. But then all of a sudden you're on the charts, and now there's a business, and there's press, and there's marketing, and there's all this other stuff. And that's a separate world than the actual music. So yeah, it was an exciting time though.
As a singer-songwriter and as a pianist, you're almost living parallel lives. One is, you sing for your own compositions, and the other is you're known as a jazz piano stroke mainstream, piano legend of sorts now, considering the number of years that you've been at it. Would you say that there is a profound influence in your life of somebody, an artist or a family member, somebody who really encouraged you to be what you are today? Because you're actually a unique blend of a piano soloist and a vocalist.
Well, thank you. I mean, each of those things came at different times naturally, I think when I first started, I just thought of myself as a piano player. And then I started singing, kind of just as a tool to get the song across. I never really thought of myself as a singer. I was always a musician first, piano player. Then writing more and more writing. When I met David Foster, that became very apparent because we made my first all original album together, which was my third album. And there was a bit of a line in the sand there. And I realized, and he was a big supporter of that in essence, I'm really a songwriter first. I mean, going back to 7, 8, 9, I just want to play what's in my head. And I think that's why I was attracted to jazz, because jazz was freedom. Jazz was just, what do you feel? What do you play? And it's all in the moment. But that's very connected to songwriting. So I think I'm a songwriter first, and I like to write and then do whatever it takes to get that song across. But whether it's playing less or playing more, or singing a falsetto that maybe I didn't even know was in my range, but that's just to serve the melody that I hear. So I think writing reigns supreme for me personally. But you're right, there are very different forces, and they don't always go together, but I've been on a search to always try to make them go together.
I tell you what's also fascinating for me, as somebody who's been on the radio for 3 decades now in this country, is that the kind of people that you've worked with, producers. I mean, there's the late and great Phil Ramone at one side, who's worked with everybody from Frank Sinatra to Billy Joel. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got David Foster, who's really the motion picture soundtrack king, and a person who's so prolific. And then you have modern day guys like Mark Ronson and David Guetta. So that's quite a fascinating ride. I mean, what have you picked up from the legendary traditional giants like David and Phil, and what have you picked up from the new guys like Mark and David?
Well, I never worked with Mark personally, although I'm a big fan. But David Guetta is a great example, because we came across together through one of my own songs that was a hit single in France, and it was even before he blew up globally. Because I don't know, I heard a song of his on the radio in France. I was promoting a song of mine called "Goodbye Philadelphia," which was a single there. And then I heard his song was in the top 10 too. And I was on a TV show that said, you need to pick a song to do your version of. And people thought I was crazy because it's David Guetta. What do I have in common with this EDM guy? But there was something about the way that song was composed and the chords he used that I just saw all these openings, and I was like, oh, that I could put myself in these openings. So I did. And it ended up working. And then he saw the TV show and reached out to me. He goes, I can't believe what you did with my song. And I said, well, I can't believe that I chose your song. And then we did a few things together, and we did some television stuff. But that's the stuff that's most exciting to me, is to just make music, and really not call it anything, because it's either good or it's bad. There's 2 kinds of music, good or bad. I try to be in the first category, and I don't really care much about genre.
That's nice. Well, people in India also know you because of the Hollywood thing. And by that I mean, the stuff that you've done on screen. House of Cards, a big success here in India on Netflix. And I remember you appearing as yourself, Peter, in season 3, singing a duet with the actor who's playing the president, which is Kevin Spacey.
Right.
How does that thing work for you? Does it come naturally? Or do you think of it as an extension of your on-stage performing arm, I wonder?
It definitely has that bone of being the performer, and you have to access that, on camera. It's a different thing. But on the other hand, I was cast in that to play myself. It wasn't like I had to play a character. So it was like a true cameo. And because of that, all those other elements, I don't have to get in character or remember. I remember some lines, but other than that, it was just me, just being me. The only difference was I had to do it 28 times in a row. I remember that song, that duet was the lighting and the placement and the blocking, and you need to have patience to be an actor. especially live performance. You go one take, you're out on stage, you either get it right or you get it wrong. This is endless, Hollywood is obviously like that.
You've played at some of the most iconic venues in the world, from Carnegie Hall to Olympia. I wonder if they've shown you pictures of the National Center of Performing Arts where you're about to perform in India. We're very proud of that facility. It's got multiple auditoria. They've got a large hall called the Jamshid Baba, where the Symphony Orchestra of India does their Western classical and philharmonic performances. Then there's the Tata Theatre, where you're going to be performing, which is again a massive space with great acoustics. There's the Godrej Dance Theatre, the Little Theatre. There's also an art gallery. It's an incredible performing space. Talk about that. Talk about how important the space, the acoustics is, and if you've seen pictures at all.
I've seen a couple pictures, and I've certainly read about the facility and the festival in itself. So, that's one thing. Seeing it in person, of course, will be another. But part of why we're excited to come there is because of the facility and to be able to play and present our first show in India ever. In such a state-of-the-art place and a acoustically sound place. And I have some of the best musicians, some of my favorite guys coming with us. They're just world-class. And then we go from you to, funny enough, an orchestra show in Lyon, France. So we're going to be like zigzagging around the globe, but the lineup in the band is great. And I can't wait to see the theater firsthand. It's so important. It's so important, as you know.
Peter, last year Veronica Swift was here at the festival. And
awesome!
Yeah,
I love Veronica,
and she was fantastic. I believe you guys have collaborated. You performed, yeah.
I gotta call her and see. I tell her to give me the lowdown. But she's great. She's actually a featured guest on one of my In Color songs, my original songs that'll come out next year. We just recorded her in Los Angeles for it as a special guest, and she's just incredible. Talk about versatility, talk about just making music, and not caring about how you're categorized. She's a great example of that.
I'd like you to talk about some of the other artists in the festival. Like you said, you're very familiar with them. There's Dennis Chambers, there's Mike Stern, there's Brian Bromberg, there's Nikki Parrott. Are you friends with any of them? Have you performed?
I'm not friends, but I'm a fan of each of them. I've known them and their music for years now in each individual sense. But are they all there the week I'm there? Well, I don't know the exact lineup. Are they all there next week?
Yeah, they're all there over the 2 days.
Great.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll overlap a little bit.
Yeah. I want to talk about some great performances or performers that you've had the good fortune of meeting and collaborating with. I mean, there are some big names out there, but to me, the late Ray Charles stands out. Would you share with me? Did you share the stage with him, or were you performing together? I wonder.
It was a co-bill, technically. So it was, me and him on a co-bill. It was incredible. It was part of the Montreal Jazz Festival. And it was about a year before he passed away. And I got a chance to spend a little time with him. We did our show first, and then there was a small break. And then he came on with his big band. And it was just incredible to see not only him up close, but the band and the way they worked. And I watched the whole show from the side of the stage, just fascinated. And then I asked him some questions after the show. He was just incredible. One of the things I noticed was he didn't use any monitors on stage, speakers, so you can hear yourself back. Especially in a big theater, in a big hall where it's echoey. And he had a big band, so I was just wondering, how do you hear yourself and be tight the way they were so tight in that particular, speaking of acoustics and concert halls. And I asked him, I said, do you mind if I ask him? I said, how do you hear yourself without any monitors? And he leaned in and he said, I like to hear what the people hear. Which, as you know, is not exactly how it works, but I wasn't about to describe it to Ray Charles. And it had such an effect on me that for the rest of my tour, I took away all the monitors on stage. And then I realized that wasn't Ray Charles, and we put him back. But he was just incredible, totally old school way of performing. but one of the best things I've seen.
And I'm a big fan of Annie Lennox, both as a solo artist as well as her band Eurythmics, which is not together anymore. You know, as kids, we grew up to a lot of that music, and I believe you've done a collaboration with her.
We didn't do a direct collaboration, but we shared a stage together at the Old Vic in London. It was her and Sting, and there was a tribute. It was a fundraiser, and just sharing the lineups with some of these people. Sometimes you walk off stage and you can't believe the artists that are hanging out in the side of the wing. But yeah, her and Sting, and I've had a few of those lucky moments, and a lot through Phil, who you mentioned. I want to mention that I love Phil Ramone. He was one of the good guys and introduced me to a lot of people, from Stevie Wonder to Garth Brooks, and he was one of the old-fashioned producer titans.
I actually, this morning when I woke up, I was listening to Killer on the Keys, your album, which is such a wonderful homage to the piano icons of all time, blending influences and things like that. I mean, I imagine it was intended to be that way. Yes. But In Color is drastically different, isn't it? I mean, you've got all these people singing, but they're all original. So you want to talk to me about notable albums in your career, albums you really feel have been turning point?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to say the first album that started the whole thing, that was on the Billboard chart. And then I'd say the third album, which is when I met David. Again, was I guess a drastic turn. But you know what? To me, it never was. It was a linear thing, and it's hard to describe. But to me, at the end of that second record, there was no other record I could have made. I mean, it was just so definitive. And thank God, David Foster heard a lot of those songs and said, "Hey, you got to make an all original album." And I just it came to me, kind of like Phil came to me. Very serendipitous. So the third album for sure.
I'm going to interrupt you here, Peter.
Yeah.
I just suddenly thought of this. I mean, apart from being the maestro that he is, David Foster, the legendary producer and stuff, he's a pianist himself, isn't it? I mean, and that makes a difference, doesn't it?
Oh, huge difference. And I'm glad you interrupted, because that's a key point. And was very different approach than Phil. See, Phil was to me, very global, and he spoke a bit of a different language. Always with an instinct, though, that was accurate. And again, a really good guy. David would be like, "No, you should play that in F sharp," or "You know what? Try it like this." I was like, "Oh, take away the third. Oh, wow!" Completely, just showing you or speaking specifically. And that was so great for me on that record. And I think one of the things on that record that was unique also for him was that he's usually playing the piano, and he's usually writing. He writes all those mega hits. So for him to sit back, I'm not going to speak for him, but for him to sit back and let me play the piano was a change. And me also write the songs and bring in the guys. So I'm very proud of that record and that collaboration, because we were both in different zones than we normally were before. And I think that's why that third record was special. And I'd say Killer on the Keys is also special because it kind of ties around, I made 2 albums before that, but Killer on the Keys kind of ties around what you were getting at, all these piano players that are from different generations that you wouldn't normally put in the same sentence. And now with In Color, I'm back to my continuation of almost like East of Angel Town Part 3, in a sense, but this time featuring artists from around the world, from all different genres. I have a really, really talented rapper from the West Coast, who's renowned in the Bay Area. I have, everyone from Chris Bodie to Marcus Miller to Angelique Kidjo, a few really different surprise guests, Veronica, and they've all brought different things to the songs, and I think it's just music, and that's why I'm calling it In Color. It's kind of breaking the barriers of the black and white keys, so to speak.
Oh, beautiful. What's the band that's accompanying you to India? Would you just give me the instruments and the players? Yeah.
Michael Olatuja on the bass, Charles Gould on the drums, and Tony Glauci on the trumpet and the keys.
My last question, I mean, pardon me if it sounds a little frivolous, but there is the National Center of Performing Arts magazine.
Yes.
And one of the artworks had your picture on it. And one of my lady friends goes, handsome man, this Peter Cincotti.
That's very nice.
And I mean, yeah, any kind of flattery is always good for us men.
Thank you.
The question I have is that you do a bit of that, don't you? I mean, you represent Xenia and Tod's, these luxury brands. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about using your personality, which is other than what you are musically, putting yourself out there?
Well, I mean, I think it's another spoke of the wheel that can allow me to play music in different scenarios. So with Xenia and Todd's, the merge of fashion and music kind of created something different. And so I've been in situations where, whether it's private events or music videos, where we've partnered and made something that is something between fashion and music that appreciates, hopefully, the quality of both. Both those brands are super high quality, and I try my best on every album and every song to keep it as high quality and involve the best people as I can. So I like different collaborations, and it's good for business, and it also is good for creating other platforms to play music. So that's what it's all about for me.
There you have it. Peter Cincotti is on day one of the nCPA National Jazz Festival. He's at the Tata Theatre, nCPA, National Center of Performing Arts in Mumbai. 7 p.m. show timing. And tickets are live now at Book My Show. So go to Book My Show to get your tickets. They're going out very, very fast. So you better get on there very, very fast. And he's bringing his piano, he's bringing his band, and it promises to be great fun. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day, and see you in India.
I hope to see you, and thank you so much. Good to meet you.
94.3 Radio 1.